we do not see the misery that is at the front line. Those are the Red Crosses and the local national disaster management officers. We at the times were sitting at the airport and we were offloading from commercial aircraft onto military aircraft. It's an indirect thing, but do not misunderstand the word indirect. Your end-to-end chain is as strong as your weakest link, and every link in that chain plays a part. It's in your vocational expertise that you exercise with a passion. You translate that into giving back to society. That is number one, what fascinates me the most, and number two, what also keeps me going. The memorable part is when you are at the airport and you see evacuees come in. What struck me was the cheerfulness with which they stepped off the aircraft. And then they looked at me and he said, "Sir, is crying going to bring back my home, my possessions, my family?" No. So better be cheerful and look at the future. It happened before this. It will happen again. We will build again. We will continue building because we are resilient. Across all of the deployments that I've been through, that is what is the most memorable. It makes you humble. It makes you realize that you are one of the luckiest amongst us, amongst the people in the world, particularly in this area.
When I saw DPDHL had such a special and unique cause that they were championing for, I thought that perhaps this was my chance to contribute back through the private sector. Within the disaster management area, DHL is one of the few companies that has formalized agreements with the humanitarian sector as well as established ties with governments. And I think there is some sort of familiarity to this program. It's come about as a result that our volunteers always put their best foot forward, and we are always there repeatedly, time after time.
When COVID struck, we took part in several initiatives. Working with the Red Cross here in Singapore in distributing care packs for the needy, the elderly who were obviously confined to their premises because they couldn't go out. Following that example is Australia. We did a stint for the Salvation Army. We're working, at this point in time, we're working with the Malaysian Red Crescent. The benefit that we have now is where the entire community of our DHL colleagues can step in, rather than a limited number of well-trained volunteers in airport logistics.
The Red Cross in Singapore lacked warehouse space. They were operating in a former classroom, which meant that it was very challenging to pack these products while adhering to social distancing measures. Also, in terms of transportation, they would call a lot of volunteers to bring their private vehicles, and by not knowing how many people would turn up, that would make delivery rather difficult to predict. So with DHL's volunteers, they were able to then streamline their packing process that allowed them to improve the time taken. So we streamlined it from a week when we helped them initially to about 1.5 days. It's not just sending goods that may be sitting around in a corner, but we are trying to give our expertise that would really make the difference in this kind of humanitarian environment. Being surrounded by people who are like-minded and passionate about this topic makes me feel that there is a purpose to the work that I'm doing, and that gives me a very huge push forward every day because I know that we are really making a difference through our joint effort.
And we will work on. We will try and modify and adapt our GoHelp blueprint to the COVID situation if we can do that on a local or a national basis. So far so good, it's working. It's gaining momentum, and honestly, and kudos to all teams in those respective countries, and in particular the managing directors of the respective business units, who have really shown undivided and unconditional support to the cause.